Welcome to Mentoring Unlocked, hosted by Maud Lindley, founder of Serendis Leadership and MentorKey, the platform making mentoring impactful and elevating workplace development conversations. Maud is a renowned executive coach and leadership strategist with over 2 decades of experience, helping leaders unlock their full potential through adaptive leadership and meaningful mentoring. Tune in for personal mentoring stories, expert insights, practical tools, and bold conversations. Whether you're a mentor, mentee, or a culture shaper, there's something for you.
I'm Maud Lindley. I'm your host today, and my guest is Julie Thompson. Julie, I'm really excited to welcome you on the podcast today. You have been at Serendis now for 6 years.
Yes.
You're one of the directors at Serendis, and you lead our talent development programs, which means you're really responsible for the strategic leadership and the operational leadership of all our mentoring programs practice at Serendis. I can't wait to hear all your insights about mentoring.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your career so far. What has led you to this current role?
Yes, thanks, Maud. Well, when I reflect back on my career, it's far longer than I ever sort of really like to accept myself. But I started working in London. I had a fascination at that time with human behaviour. I've always studied people, watched people, and been really interested in, what makes people tick and what makes people light up. And I think at an early stage that led me into my first role in London, which in those days was joining a personnel department.
Oh, the personnel
department, which just sounds so old-fashioned now. But I went into banking in a junior role in a personnel department and worked my way up quite quickly. And I just loved, being paid for a role where basically, we were working with people, thinking about how to help people to be their best in their work. I've always felt so passionately about people deserving to get real joy and satisfaction from what they go to work every day to do. So I progressed within a sort of HR generalist type of direction, and that brought me across to Sydney. So in 2004, I transferred across with my role at that time. Was managing a lot of redundancies, a lot of disciplinary meetings at that time. We were heading into the GFC. It was a really, really tough time.
Right.
And then someone introduced me to this world of coaching. And I then started to study coaching and mentoring, and it really kind of progressed from there. So that was probably where my career started. And when I started to progress in the area of coaching and mentoring.
And just as I listened to you as well, I realized that I forgot to mention that you have this degree from Sydney Uni.
That's right. And actually, I've been thinking in preparation for today around, who my mentors have been.
Yes.
And there certainly was one individual in that organisation that, as I said, he introduced me to this world of coaching.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done a lot of study, to be honest. I got into my working life very quickly after college. And he suggested to me that I look at this master's degree at Sydney Uni. And when I read the outline, I just felt more excited than I'd ever felt before about something, to learn and study. And I did my master's from there.
It's a long and difficult degree. It's highly reputed in the world of coaching, but people know how difficult it is. How did you go through it?
Yeah, well, it was fascinating because, as I say, it had been a long time since I'd done any real academic study. And I developed a love-hate relationship with it very, very quickly. I loved the content, the journal papers. I would, read them at any opportunity. But actually, it was the director of the coaching psychology unit, Anthony Grant,
yes,
who really inspired me. He was such a fascinating individual, but so smart, so intelligent, that he just brought this whole world to life for me. And I honestly say, other than having my 2 children, it was the best thing that I've ever done doing that degree.
Would you consider him as a mentor?
I would do. I mean, I would have loved to have had more time with him sort of personally. And I did actually have the opportunity to work with him in more of a corporate sort of setting in a future role. But I certainly looked up to him. He inspired me. I admired him. And suddenly my world just opened up when he introduced me to these concepts and the research and the frameworks. And then I was lucky enough to bring, that into my work. back in the sort of in the world of in mentoring and coaching.
And that's how you came to Serendis.
That's right, yes.
And for the listeners who may not know, Anthony Grant sadly passed away way too early in his life, but left an amazing legacy to all the people who have studied in his masters. And he shaped the world of coaching in Australia, particularly, and around the world, I imagine.
That's true. He's got one of his last quotes that he left. I've actually got it printed in a big frame in my kitchen, and I read it every day, and it really inspires me. So certainly it lives on in me, and thousands of other people.
Yeah, tell us the quote.
The essence of the quote is around letting go of resentments. Finding people that see the best in you. Live every day to the full. You never know when this might be your last, and so it sort of gives me goosebumps when I think about it.
And obviously, Julie, this has completely shaped who you are as a coach, as a facilitator, as the shaper of mentoring programs. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy across coaching, mentoring, and the work that you do, which is helping others be the best mentor they can be.
Yes, yeah, thanks, Maud. I think that suddenly this degree challenged me because I realised, the world is made up of many different colours and different shades of grey, and things are often very nuanced, and that actually the power of listening and tuning in and connecting to someone, helps them to navigate that complexity, and think more deeply and gain insights about themselves and who they are and the impact that they can have at a much deeper level. And so I think it really challenged me in that way, but I think that's the beauty of mentoring.
Wow, I love this. So there's no right or wrong. There's no black and white. It's all perspectives.
Yes.
And mentoring is about listening to those different perspectives.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I want to go to definitely how you help mentors reveal this. But can I pause for a moment and ask you, how does it help you in your life, in your professional, but also your personal life today, to have this different perspectives that coaching has brought to you?
Yeah, thank you. I think, it's often we tell ourselves a story very quickly, and we have a set of rules that inform those stories.
Yes.
And I think when we oversimplify and, see things in a black and white manner, we often miss things. We miss all sorts of things. And it can take us in an unhelpful direction. So I think by me understanding that actually things are never that straightforward, and we need to look at things from many different angles, many different perspectives, that's helped me to really see the power of mentoring. And so by us helping to bring that frame to mentees and mentors, they have such a much more impactful experience. And so, I think I can inspire the mentors and the mentees because of the experience that I've had.
That's brilliant. That's so powerful. If you realize that there is never such thing as one or the other, it's all shades of different perspectives. That strengthens your resilience to different events that you might otherwise perceive as negatively or even positively. Actually, you need to bring that lens to everything you do.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Julie, tell us about how, in your role as facilitator of mentoring programs, you help others understand and so get a glimpse of that insight for them to apply this in their own mentoring interactions.
Yes, yeah. I think a lot of what we do is really just helping mentees and mentors to think about how to just be themselves in this relationship, how to be authentic, not to put too much pressure on themselves, to always come up with the right answer or to say the right thing.
Yes.
Because I think, especially in the corporate world or, organizations, whatever industry you're in, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be the best mentor or the best mentee and to say the right thing. But actually, sometimes that hinders us from having the real conversation. So trying to help, giving mentors and mentees just some direction, some skills, some frameworks, some insights, but really around just hold the space. Yeah. Just create the space for one another. We have the answers within ourselves. We really don't need to be given advice most of the time. Sometimes we do. But if you've made your way into a big organization and you're highly regarded, then you have the insights within yourself. So how can we get comfortable with just holding the space and letting the answers emerge. And so I think sometimes mentors come in putting a huge amount of pressure on themselves because they want to be amazing.
They want to do the right thing for an mentee.
Yes, and they want to, they want to do the best for the mentee. But sometimes it's just about relaxing and creating a space, and letting the mentee know that they're there. They've got their back. They're supporting them. Sometimes that's all that it actually takes.
But you said something that I really liked that hadn't occurred to me is, first of all, you've got to let down the mask.
Yes.
The persona that we put in the corporate world. So when you're matched with a mentee or a mentor, you must actually accept to let go of that veneer and be true to yourself. Otherwise, the real conversation cannot happen.
Yes.
How do we help people do that, even sometimes when they're not conscious of it?
Yeah, that's true. And I've always been very conscious of that mask, I think, because of, early years in my career being within the sorts of organizations where people were quite guarded, and sort of protecting themselves and their own image, and seeing how that hinders us, individually, collectively. So absolutely dropping the mask. I think it's about, obviously we talk a lot about vulnerability, authenticity, sharing our struggles. These are things that often for many of us who are sort of in the second half of our career, perhaps are contrary to what we have told ourselves, that we need to be the all-knowing leader at the front, the expert. But actually none of us are the expert. But we are the expert in our own lives. That's the only thing that we're truly the expert in. And so it's just about being human. Let's just be real with each other. And I think that can, it can be as simple as that.
Do you find that the people that you match, I guess if you had to place a bet, what's the percentage of all the people that you look after in terms of all these mentors and mentees that you look after on the yearly basis?
Yes.
How many would you say get to that level of deep authenticity?
Yes. Oh, that's a great question. And we have so many, we're so lucky now that the scale of the programs that we deliver and, have over 1,000 people each year go through one of our programs. So collectively, with our team, we have the privilege of supporting these people. But that's a great question. I wonder if it's about 50%.
Right. Okay. Yes.
I think there's still work to do. We work with our mentees and mentors for 6 months.
Yes.
But what we do know is that for most of them, they stay connected. They keep working together outside of the formal program. So it's a relationship that sort of, sustains.
Yes.
And so I think that perhaps that depth comes, beyond the end of the formal program.
Yeah.
But with the support that we give them, we accelerate that. We help them to get to that point more quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. By the questions you ask them, or by the methods that you ask them to embrace.
Yes, yeah. So we provide the tools and the frameworks, and the support, the coaching, to just help them navigate that and get to that point more quickly.
You said something earlier as a second point. So the first point is to get to that level of authenticity.
Yes.
The second point is that the mentor should not feel that they have the answer.
Yes.
The mentor should feel that actually the mentee has all the answers within themselves, and they're here to hold the space, listen, and really reveal that from the mentee.
Yeah.
How do you help someone do that? How do you support the mentors to understand they have to ask questions?
Yes. Well, we talk to the mentors about, the key ingredients of successful mentoring.
Yes.
And one of them, and I always laugh internally to myself when I talk about asking more questions and giving answers.
Yes.
And, I say to the group, who feels that who finds this challenging? And you sort of sitting there acknowledging to themselves that actually I'm not necessarily very good at this.
Yeah.
And we talk about, why might that be? And it's always because they're so well intended. They have the best of intentions.
Yes.
They've had the experience. They're sitting listening to the challenge that their mentee is experiencing, thinking, I've been there before. I know what you should do. I know what you shouldn't do. And they want to give the answers because they want to help. But what we help them to acknowledge, and, they know this themselves already, but, by cutting in, you're actually really hindering the mentee's opportunity to reach that insight themselves. And when they reach the insight, the aha moment, something magical happens for them, and they're much more committed to taking action when it's something that they've identified themselves. So we talk to the mentors about, sit on your hands, zip your lips, whatever it might be, but just hold back. Let the mentee experience that themselves. And of course, if they get to the point where they don't know, they're stuck, then absolutely bring in the advice.
Yes.
But just watch that timing very, very carefully. Yes. And I think that's an art that we really try and help them to navigate.
Yeah, thank you. I love that. Sit on your hands. But really listen, hold that space.
Yes.
And create that moment for the mentee.
Yes. There's a quote actually. It makes you think that what you're about to say is more important than what I'm about to think.
Yes.
And I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
So what makes you think that what you're about to say is more important than what I'm about to think?
Yes.
Wow.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yes.
I love that because
exactly it.
I know in my own life, more outside of work than in work, I'm always very quick with the advice.
Yes.
Because, we're time poor, we want to be efficient. Yeah. But it's just resisting that temptation.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know the best mentoring moments come from the best questions.
Yes.
And the best aha moments.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. What else is critical for your mentors and mentees to achieve together, do you think, beyond creating that authenticity and generating that insight for mentees?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, all mentoring relationships are around, achieving performance, driving outcomes. Whereas, many mentoring programs, and I've run mentoring programs myself, when I've been within organizations, I think what we find is people meet one another. There's a lot of excitement at the beginning of the relationship. They're getting to know each other. And then things sort of start to fall away.
Yes.
And people think, I don't really know what to talk about anymore. Yeah. So what we try and, what we do and we support our participants through is thinking around, what are the goals for the program? What does good look like? Yeah. What do you want to walk away with that you wouldn't have achieved on your own?
Yes.
What's your vision of success? So continually thinking about those outcomes and what do the mentee and the mentor need to do together in order to achieve those, in order to achieve, performance or fulfill a sense of purpose, whatever it might be for that individual. And so, there's this turning point in a mentoring relationship that often happens around the midpoint where enough trust has been developed.
Yes.
Where maybe the mentor can start to, share with the mentee, what they see as their potential or what they think might be holding them back based on their own one-on-one interactions. And often the mentee doesn't get to hear those insights from someone else. So how might they be perceived by other people? Their mentor can start to help bring that perspective for them. And help them see, how other people might be experiencing them. And that's where often the potential that they hadn't necessarily seen in themselves becomes unlocked. So I think we want to make sure that we sustain the momentum of the program and support them as they get to that point and beyond in order to get to those outcomes.
And I can't help but think you're coming back to this initial point, isn't it? Where you have said it's life is all about perspectives. And if you get a sense of the depths of different perspectives, that's where you start to grow personally. Yes. And that's what you're saying. At one point, the mentors should be equipped and feel that they can challenge the mentee's perspectives, and they are very well placed to do that. If they've been listening, really listening, asking a lot of questions for the first 3-4 months of the partnership, then they get to a point where they can start to shine the light on different perspectives that the mentee has missed potentially. Yes. And this is where the magic is created again.
Yeah, I think so. And I think this is a real point where, we play such a critical role in the way in which we support those mentors, because for many of them, that's a real challenge.
Yes.
Because they have developed such a trust-based relationship. And we often hold back. We all hold back in giving feedback, don't we? Because we don't want to offend. We don't want to damage a relationship that we care about.
We want to make people happy.
We want to make people happy. Exactly. So helping the mentors to see that actually this is the biggest thing that you can bring for your mentee, and to push through some of that discomfort. But sometimes they need help in getting there.
And who better than the mentor to give the mentee that level of perspective or sometimes uncomfortable feedback. Yeah. And again, it goes back to what you said. If you establish that trust, if you're really authentic with one another, then you can get to a point where you provide that perspective. Yes. You provide that feedback.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where we often hear from mentees that, this can be life-changing for them. Mm-hmm. And that's what just makes me so excited about the work that we do. And I feel so privileged that, get to do this as our work. Yes. Because the stories we hear from people, they find a side to themselves they didn't really even know existed.
Yes, absolutely.
And often it takes them in a different direction, and a direction that is much more likely to fulfill them and, give themselves and their life meaning through their work.
Julie, I'm just thinking I would like to go back to, so you said, let's get to that level of authenticity and trust. Let's ensure that the mentor really reveals in the mentee, so the mentee has their own epiphanies. The mentor needs to ask questions and be really listening and not imposing their thinking. Yeah. Because their thinking might not be as good as their mentee's thinking. Yeah. But then we're saying provide that different perspective. Yeah. Sometimes it's difficult, right, to navigate these two roles. Am I here to ask questions and let my mentee come up with their own answers? Yes. Or if I see a different perspective, if I want to give them feedback, is it telling, or should I ask a question? Yes. How do you know how to navigate those two sides of the same coin, really, as a mentor?
Yes, and I think you can't necessarily teach somebody that. Yes. We can certainly give them some ideas around how can you judge that point. Yes. We use lots of models like the GROW coaching framework. Yes. So, starting with the goal, exploring the reality, and then getting them to think about their own options. Yes. There's a piece of advice I guess often suggest to the mentors or a technique that if they've got that feeling that there's some advice that they would like to provide and the mentee has exhausted their own thinking, just ask for permission. Yes. Would it be helpful if I shared some thoughts with you? I've got some ideas about this. I've had some experiences. Yes. Would it be okay if I shared that with you? And that still leaves the mentee in the driving seat, which I think is really important. So there's just some subtleties around the timing and then how to frame sharing advice, which I think can make a real difference.
Leave the mentee in the driving seat. Yeah. I really like that. And as you said, it's about framing that advice into a perspective. In fact, it's not about giving advice. It's about providing a different perspective. Yes. So if you've asked a lot of questions and you get to that point where maybe the mentee is not seeing a perspective, then you can provide that perspective, but leaving the mentee in the driving seat.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, what a great lesson to mentors. Hopefully this is helpful to a lot of people listening to us who are about to embark into this magic of mentoring someone else. Julie, tell me about some of the greatest stories of success that you've had, some like the things that have stayed with you having watched mentors and mentees achieve the magic of mentoring.
Yes. There's so many. There's so many. One just comes to mind. We were running I was working on one of the programs that we were running a year or so ago, and we had a mentee who came onto the program. She had a wealth of experiences, clearly had a huge amount of potential, but she had a negative story that she was telling herself, and it was hindering her. And through the support of her mentor, she started to sort of explore this further, challenge her own frame of reference, understand what were some of the beliefs that were sitting below this negative story. And she was able to start reframing the story into a more empowering set of beliefs, a more positive story for herself. And so we shared a challenge with her at the end of the program and invited her to be part of the finale, which required her to sit at the front of the room.
In front of how many people?
Yeah, in front of about 60, 70 people for that particular event. And it was something that she was adamant she would have done this at the beginning of the program. But again, with the support of her mentor, then when I invited her to take that opportunity, she jumped at it and knew it was a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And so just seeing the pride in herself in doing that was wonderful. So, you know, that was something that we saw with immediate results. Other stories, yes. Oh, I might have to just...
It feels like you are living through the stories of it's kind of for you being the super mentor. You often say as a mentor, you get this high from having helped someone.
Oh, yes.
You get the super high because you're supervising all these mentoring partnerships.
I absolutely do. Actually, it's funny. I was having dinner last night with some friends, and people were talking like, you know, who gets to do a job that they really love, and you know, they get paid well for it. So I said, well, actually, I do, because I truly feel that I'm lucky enough to kind of live out my purpose through my work, and there's so much joy that we get from it.
I can't help but ask because I know the answer. Tell me about who has inspired you to live and work so purposefully, Julie. And I know that might have to do with someone that you had dinner with last night.
Thank you, Maud. So I was privileged enough to, I mentioned earlier, you know, I grew up in England in a small English village, beautiful village. But there were two people that I went to school with who've actually become famous. And one of them in particular, Jamie Oliver, the chef. So people might recognise my Essex accent. There's a similarity with Jamie. We're obviously the same age. But Jamie and his family lived in the pub in the village that we grew up in, and incredibly hardworking people. And Jamie developed and showed this passion for cooking at a very, very early age. And I think most of us, I'm sure probably all of the listeners, are familiar with his journey. And the success that he's had, but that success has all been through following passion and purpose. You know, he'll openly admit about his struggles from a learning perspective, and I observed those. But he has changed the world, all through being really authentic around what he believes in and having the resilience through the passion to keep fighting for that cause. So I called up with him for dinner last night, and he is an absolute inspiration to me. He really is, to see the good work that he continues to do and helping people find their way. We were at dinner last night. There were a number of MasterChef contestants.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, seeing them, they've got their own restaurants. They have been, you know, successful in their own right, but they may well not have been without access to Jamie and other people like him.
And the mentorship that he would have provided them, no doubt.
Yes. And he attributes his success to his mentors.
Yes.
So Gennaro and his dad and, you know, other people that have mentored him. Yeah. So that always inspires me to think that the fact that we can spread those opportunities across such a large group of people through the role that we play.
And challenge each other's perspectives. Yeah. So some of those limiting perspectives that limit us from achieving our full potential. Yes. That's what mentoring is about. And you've beautifully expressed that today, Julie. Thank you so much. I know it will be an inspiration to all the mentors who are listening in and about to embark in a journey of themselves. Yeah. Julie, thank you so much for coming today.
It's a pleasure, Maud.
It's been a pleasure having that chat with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Mentoring Unlocked. This podcast is powered by MentorKey, the platform designed to make mentoring impactful. If this episode unlocked inspiration within you, please follow, share, or leave us a review.